If you're the sort of person who can't resist subtly showing off as soon as you've got a cue in your hand, then you're going to need to know how to play all 10 of these shots, because a lot of them aren't as difficult as they appear, and if you pick the right moment, you're going to look like an absolute genius. Don't be fooled, playing some of these shots really well requires a lot of practice and experience. But even just understanding how they work is going to help you at some level, and that's certainly true of our first shot. We're starting out with what I think is the most straightforward shot on this list, but it does require you to have at least a moderate understanding of how to play a shot with side spin. I can't quite see enough of this red to pot it, but that's not going to stop me. However, I'm not really swerving around the blue here. When the cue ball strikes the object ball with right hand side, it pushes the red to the left, and the left hand side here pushes the red to the right. Because it changes the direction of the object ball, you can even use it on shots like this, where there isn't room to swerve the cue ball. Playing a shot like this isn't really that difficult. If it doesn't quite go, all you need to do is stand back and imagine yourself playing a shot with side spin. So in this case, I'm going to play the shot with right hand side. Don't try to swerve it, just try to play it like a normal right hand side shot at a slow pace. And then when the cue ball strikes the object ball, it'll turn it into the pocket. The second shot can also help you pop balls that don't actually go, but this time ones you can't see at all. This is the type of shot you can only play when the balls are roughly in the right place, and even then it's still quite risky. That's why you only tend to see it used when the balls are near a pocket. Or with a shot like this, where you're playing a cannon directly into a plant. With any type of these shots, you need to make sure you don't change your mind about the pace of the shot, because that will heavily affect where the cue ball actually ends up. The third shot is everything you might describe as an in-off. So here I'm playing the red onto the black. This removes the black from the cushion so I can pot it easily and stops the red being blocked from the same pocket. It can also be used to sneakily pot a ball from a seemingly safe position. When you attempt any shot like this, ideally you want the cue ball to be directly in line with the object ball so you have full control of what happens. And in this case, it's a great way to get an awkward ball off a cushion. But it's rare for a player to have the confidence to play this type of shot unless there's a ball really close to a pocket that reduces the difficulty of the pot. And if you can combine them with the right safety shot, these are very good shots to play as shot for nothings. That wouldn't actually have been safe though. Shot 4 is one that you rarely get the chance to play, and one that most players aren't daring enough to even attempt. I'm sure I could get the cue ball on the jaw from here, but it's very unlikely, so you've got to be very careful about the position of the balls before you play the shot. Because I mean, if it's there, it's not even worth playing. So if it's one of those shots where you can't quite pot the ball, sometimes it's worth having a go, especially if you're very close. It's also helpful if there's a ball down the cushion like that pink, meaning there's no chance of me leaving a pot on. You've just got to make sure you play it absolutely perfect, because if you hit it a bit hard, it's going to come off the jaw, and you've got to make sure whatever happens, you don't go in off. But after we find Nubukaku from Joensuu, Finland, it's time to ramp up the difficulty a little bit with our fifth shot, because this involves potting one object ball and jumping the cue ball over another or even multiple object balls. It's rare that you need to play a shot like this, but occasionally it can be very helpful. Once you've struck a ball, you can legally jump over any ball on the table. You just need to strike down on the cue ball at about a 45-degree angle, and whatever angle the cue ball's coming off the red, the cue ball will then jump. If you don't play this shot confidently, you'll find you won't actually get the cue ball to jump at all. So whenever you play it, you need to make sure you commit to playing the shot. The other thing is, when you jump the cue ball into the object ball, it has the effect sometimes of straightening up. So you just need to make sure you cut it enough. The sixth shot also involves jumping, but this time we're jumping the object ball over an obstacle, which in the right situation isn't as difficult as you might think, but it can go wrong. If you happen to end up in the right place where you can get your hand on the cushion and the balls are only just in front of you, you can more or less jump the object ball over everything. Though you do need to make sure you have enough stopping room, otherwise you could end up with a white ball jumping off the table. Oh, that's not bad. That was actually genuinely first attempt. See, I told you this was showing off. But after we find Whackers from Islamabad, Pakistan, we're going to be playing some shots that make these ones look tame. Starting with some extreme swerve shots, but what's the trick to playing a shot like this? Ideally with a shot like this, you want to get your cue as high in the air as possible, bring your hand off the table with a loop bridge, and try and keep it as close to your body as possible so it can rest against it. We can't do that on a shot like this, so we're just going to try and keep it as steady as we can. There we go. To play this shot you need a lot of side spin and backspin, so I'm striking it as close to the edge as possible, about halfway between the right hand edge of the ball and the bottom edge of the ball. And longer swerve shots use the same principle, but you want your cue at a lower angle to get it to swerve over a greater distance. All of these shots require smooth but firm strike, pushing the cue ball along the table, not into it. Our eighth shot is a little bit different because you can probably screw back straight, but how about sideways? How do you do that? This is exactly what we're looking for. It's a difficult shot because it makes the pot so much harder. However, here I'm going to try and screw back sideways for the yellow. Let's see if we can do it. So I'm striking down on the cue ball. You need to strike down on the cue ball a lot to make this work. And I'm hitting it right on the right hand side here to make it go right. See, it's good, I just didn't quite get it to come back far enough. Playing an elevated shot with this much side makes the pot really challenging, but with just a little bit of practice it can be a very helpful shot. Although not striking the cue ball clean or getting it to bounce more than you wanted to can cause positional problems. If the cue ball bounces on this shot, it's simply not going to work, so you need to play it quite smoothly even though you're striking the cue ball quite hard, and that does mean using quite a long follow through. It should feel more like squeezing the cue ball along the table rather than bouncing it, and even though it's a difficult shot to play at times, it's still one I think's worth knowing. Shot 9 is the ultimate show-off shot, and we've talked about it a lot before on this channel, so I'll only mention the impossible cut briefly. To play this shot you need to get the cue ball to finish alongside a ball on a cushion, spinning about as much as possible. The side spin on the cue ball when it strikes the cushion then pushes the object ball into the pocket, but you still need to strike the cushion in the right place with a lot of side. It isn't the easiest shot to play, and to be truthful you're more likely to miss the black or just stick it over the pocket than actually pot it. In fact you're more likely to do anything than actually pot the ball. But it is a way you can play this shot. No. Try again. No. It's tough, but it's the only way to pot a ball that shouldn't really go. So let's find Ahmed from Aleppo, Syria before we look at what I think is the toughest shot on this list. And on a snooker table I think that's a full masse shot. I'm going to play the cue ball away from me and get it to spin back. So to play this shot you need to put your cue about as high in the air as you can get it, and as I play the shot I'm just going to pull back on it like that, and hopefully that should allow us to pot the pink just about here. Oh, that's about the best one I've ever done. I'm just going to end this now. So in my opinion, those are snooker's 10 ultimate show-off shots. Remember that they only work when the balls are in a specific place, and there's probably only worth playing when there's no other shot on. But they still look good, don't they? So if you know any of any others, just let me know them in the comments. And if you don't think you're quite up to the standard yet to be able to play some of the shots in this video, have a look at these two because they might be able to help you out. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.